What if everything you believe about birth and death is a carefully constructed illusion, a prison for your mind that you never chose to enter? Your entire life, you've been told that you were born at a specific moment, and someday you will die. This story, this timeline has defined your every thought, your every fear, your every limitation. But what if I told you that the most cutting-edge science, the most ancient wisdom, and the most profound human experiences all point to something extraordinary? That birth and death are not what you think they are. They may not be real at all. Today, we're going to shatter that prison. We're going to examine evidence that your consciousness, the real you, exists beyond the boundaries of birth and death. But first, let me ask you, what if birth and death are not endpoints, but doorways? Not beginnings and endings, but transitions in an endless cycle of existence. Society has invested everything in convincing you that you are nothing but a temporary arrangement of atoms, born from nothing, returning to nothing. This belief system keeps you small, keeps you afraid, keeps you in line. The first crack in this prison wall comes from quantum physics, the science of the very small that reveals truths about the very large. In the quantum world, particles can exist in multiple places at once. The future can influence the past, and time itself. Time isn't what you think it is. Imagine time not as a straight line, but as a vast ocean. Past, present, future, all existing at once. Your birth, your death, and every moment between, all happening simultaneously in this infinite sea. But perhaps you need more concrete evidence. What about the thousands of children studied by researchers at the University of Virginia? Children who recall specific details from past lives they couldn't possibly know. Dr. Ian Stevenson didn't just take these children at their word. He verified their claims through exhaustive research, public records, family testimonies, historical documents. Children leading researchers to towns they'd never visited, identifying people they'd never met, revealing secrets only the deceased would know. Some children even bore birthmarks matching the fatal wounds from their previous lives. Precise, specific injuries documented in medical records. How do you explain a child born with a birthmark exactly matching a gunshot wound that killed someone else decades before? And what about near-death experiences? People from all cultures, all religions, all walks of life report strikingly similar experiences when they briefly cross the threshold of death before being revived. They describe floating above their bodies, watching medical teams work to save them. They recall conversations and objects in other rooms they couldn't possibly have seen or heard while unconscious. Their brains were offline, yet something was still observing, still experiencing. Whether they're from America, India, ancient Egypt, or modern Japan, the core experience remains remarkably consistent. A peaceful separation from the body, a journey through darkness toward light, encounters with deceased loved ones, a profound sense that death is not the end, but a transition. Science has long struggled with the hard problem of consciousness. How does a physical brain create the subjective experience of being you? What if they've been asking the wrong question? What if consciousness isn't created by the brain, but merely channeled through it? The famous double-slit experiment in quantum physics shows something remarkable. Particles behave differently when observed. Consciousness itself appears to influence physical reality at the quantum level. Your awareness is not just passive, it's an active force in shaping reality. Ancient civilizations understood these truths. The Egyptian Book of the Dead wasn't about death at all. It was a guide for transformation. The Tibetan Book of the Dead, the same. These weren't primitive superstitions. They were sophisticated maps of consciousness transitions. The ancient Hermetic text, the Kabbalion, states all is mind. From this perspective, death isn't an ending. It's simply a shift in mental frequency. Like changing the channel on a television, while the broadcast continues uninterrupted. Many traditions speak of the Akashic Records, a cosmic library containing every thought, word, and deed from all of existence. Through deep meditation, some claim to access these records, retrieving information they couldn't possibly know through conventional means. Throughout history, meditation, certain plant medicines, and hypnosis have been used as tools to peek beyond the veil, to access states of consciousness where the illusions of birth and death dissolve. These practices have been systematically suppressed, not because they're dangerous, but because they're liberating. When you understand that your consciousness existed before birth and will continue after death, that you are not your body, but something far more vast and eternal, everything changes. The fear that has controlled your life begins to dissolve. When you're no longer terrified of death, you're finally free to truly live, to take risks, to follow your heart, to speak your truth, to love without reservation. The prison walls crumble, and you step into the vastness of who you really are. In the next segment, we'll dive deeper into the scientific evidence that consciousness survives physical death. We'll explore the cutting-edge research that's forcing even the most skeptical scientists to question everything they thought they knew about the nature of reality. But first, I want you to ask yourself, if birth and death are illusions, if your consciousness is eternal, how would you live differently today? What fears would you release? What dreams would you finally pursue? The truth about birth and death isn't just an interesting theory. It's the key to your liberation. And once you see through the illusion, nothing will ever be the same again. Welcome back. Now, let's examine the scientific evidence more closely. Quantum entanglement. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance, shows that once connected, particles remain linked regardless of physical separation. They communicate instantaneously, faster than light, across any distance. What if consciousness works the same way? Scientists like Dr. Stuart Hameroff and Sir Roger Penrose propose that consciousness arises from quantum processes in the brain's microtubules, potentially connecting our awareness to the fundamental fabric of reality itself. This would explain cases where consciousness persists despite minimal brain activity, like Pam Reynolds, who underwent a procedure requiring her brain blood to be drained and body temperature lowered to 60 degrees, clinically dead by all measures. Yet she later accurately described conversations and instruments used during surgery, even noting a specific surgical saw that surprised her with its unusual design. Then there's the puzzling phenomenon of terminal lucidity, when patients with severe brain damage or dementia suddenly become completely clear and coherent shortly before death. How does a physically deteriorated brain suddenly function perfectly, unless consciousness isn't entirely dependent on the brain? In Tibet, the rainbow body phenomenon has been documented for centuries. Advanced practitioners whose physical bodies partially or completely dissolve into light at the time of death. In 1998, Khenpo Cho's body reportedly shrunk until it disappeared, witnessed by fellow monks and even a Chinese government official. Let's return to the University of Virginia's Division of Perceptual Studies, where researchers have compiled over 2,500 cases of children with past life memories. One boy in Lebanon recalled being a 25-year-old mechanic in a previous life. He led researchers to his former village and correctly identified his previous home, workshop, and family members, even recalling where he'd hidden money before his death. In another case, a girl in Myanmar was born with birthmarks matching the fatal wounds of a cook who died in a Japanese air raid, burns on her chest, and a strange mark behind her ear. The girl correctly identified the cook's family members and recalled specific details about her previous life and death. Dr. Jim Tucker, who continues this research today, notes that these cases occur regardless of religious or cultural background. Modern brain imaging studies reveal another fascinating insight. During deep meditation, certain brain regions become less active while practitioners report expanded awareness. This paradox suggests that the brain may act more like a filter or receiver of consciousness rather than its creator. When the filter relaxes, we may access more of what already exists beyond our physical form. The Egyptians understood something profound with their weighing of the heart ceremony. Near-death experiencers consistently report a comprehensive life review, not as judgment from an external deity, but as witnessing the full impact of their actions on others. They experience both sides, feeling the joy they brought to others and the pain they caused. This suggests our actions create ripples that continue beyond our physical existence. The double-slit experiment reveals something profound about reality. Particles behave as waves of possibility until observed, then collapse into definite particles. This suggests consciousness itself plays a role in creating reality. Physicist John Wheeler proposed that we live in a participatory universe where consciousness and physical reality are fundamentally intertwined. Hypnosis offers another window into consciousness beyond this lifetime, Dr. Brian Weiss, a Yale-trained psychiatrist, was skeptical about past lives until a patient under hypnosis began recalling detailed historical information she couldn't possibly know. After verifying these details, he since documented thousands of cases where hypnosis reveals consistent patterns of soul development across multiple lifetimes. Dr. Michael Newton's research goes further, using deep hypnosis to access not just past lives, but the state between lives. Thousands of his subjects, regardless of religious background, consistently describe the same process: reviewing past lives, planning future incarnations with specific lessons and relationships, and choosing the circumstances of their next birth. This suggests our challenges may be purposefully selected for our growth. Psychedelic experiences offer another fascinating perspective. DMT, a compound found naturally in many plants and animals, including the human brain, consistently produces encounters with non-physical entities and realms that feel more real than real. Dr. Rick Strassman's research at the University of New Mexico found striking similarities between DMT experiences and accounts of the afterlife from various spiritual traditions. The Princeton Engineering Anomalies Research Lab spent decades studying mind-matter interactions. Their research showed that human intention could subtly influence random number generators, creating order from chaos. During major global events that captured collective attention, these effects strengthened significantly. This suggests consciousness may be a field phenomenon that can affect physical reality in measurable ways. Some of the most compelling evidence comes from children who recall not just past lives, but the process of choosing their current parents. A boy named Cameron told his mother, "I picked you before I was born. I was in heaven, but I saw you and Daddy and knew you would be good to me." When asked how he chose, he said, "I just looked for the light. You had the right light." Hospice workers witness remarkable patterns among the dying. Many patients begin seeing deceased relatives who come to help them cross over. These aren't confused hallucinations. Patients often recognize relatives they've never seen in photographs. Dr. Christopher Kerr's research at Hospice Buffalo has documented these pre-death dreams and visions, finding they significantly reduce death anxiety and occur regardless of medication levels. Then there are shared death experiences, where healthy people present at a death temporarily share the dying person's transition. Dr. Raymond Moody has documented cases where relatives or caregivers report leaving their bodies alongside the dying person, witnessing the same tunnel, light, or deceased relatives. These experiences suggest death is a witnessed transition rather than a solitary end. Government-funded research into remote viewing at Stanford Research Institute demonstrated that consciousness can access information regardless of physical distance or time barriers. Declassified CIA documents show trained remote viewers could accurately describe distant locations they'd never visited. This suggests consciousness operates beyond the limitations of the physical brain and sensory organs. While we focused on spiritual and scientific perspectives, some are pursuing technological approaches to defeating death. Cryonics companies freeze bodies immediately after death, hoping future technology can revive and repair them. Others work on mind uploading, transferring consciousness to computers. But these approaches assume consciousness is merely information processing, rather than something more fundamental. These technological approaches raise profound questions. If we could live forever in a digital form, would that truly be us? Or would it be a copy while our consciousness continues its natural journey? Perhaps ancient wisdom and cutting-edge science are converging on the same truth, that consciousness is the fundamental reality, not something that can be reduced to information or trapped in physical form. So why has this knowledge been hidden from us? Why are we taught from childhood that we are nothing but temporary biological machines? Consider who benefits from your belief in a limited existence. Industries built on fear, religions promising salvation, systems requiring your compliance. When you believe your time is scarce, you become easier to control. When you realize your consciousness is eternal, that death is a transition, not an end, everything changes. You're free to make choices based on love rather than fear. Free to take risks, speak your truth, pursue your purpose. The fear of death has been the ultimate control mechanism, and now you can see through it. What if each lifetime is like a chapter in a much longer story of your soul's evolution? What if the purpose isn't just a single life well lived, but growth and development across many experiences? This perspective transforms how you view your current challenges. They're not random suffering, but opportunities for growth you may have chosen. Dr. Michael Newton's research into the between lives state reveals something remarkable. Souls appear to plan future lives together. That difficult parent, that challenging relationship, that seemingly random encounter that changed everything. What if these weren't accidents, but agreements made before birth to help each other learn and grow? This perspective also transforms our understanding of justice. What we call karma isn't punishment, but the natural consequence of our actions and their impact on our own consciousness. Since consciousness continues, so does our responsibility. We carry the imprint of our choices, not as judgment, but as wisdom gained through experience. If consciousness is eternal and interconnected, then our actions have far greater significance than we realize. Every act of kindness, every moment of presence, every choice for love over fear, these don't just affect our immediate circumstances. They create ripples across the fabric of consciousness itself, affecting realms and realities beyond our current perception. The world's spiritual traditions may differ in their details, but many share a core understanding. Consciousness continues beyond death. The Tibetan Book of the Dead offers guidance for the transition. The Hindu concept of reincarnation spans thousands of years. Indigenous traditions worldwide recognize the ongoing journey of the soul. Are all these diverse cultures simply wrong? Or have they glimpsed something fundamental? What's remarkable is how modern science is beginning to validate what ancient traditions have taught for millennia. Quantum non-locality mirrors the spiritual concept of interconnectedness. The observer effect in physics reflects the creative power of consciousness described in ancient texts. The hard problem of consciousness points towards something beyond the physical brain, just as spiritual traditions have always maintained. Perhaps the earliest human burial rituals, ancient spiritual texts, indigenous wisdom traditions, religious concepts of the afterlife, mystical experiences, psychedelic journeys, hypnotic regressions, scientific anomalies, quantum physics, and near-death experiences are all pointing to the same fundamental truth, just using different languages to describe it. The greatest prison ever built wasn't made of stone and steel. It was built of belief. The belief that you are nothing but a temporary arrangement of matter. The belief that your consciousness winks out like a candle at death. The belief that this brief life is all there is. These beliefs create the ultimate fear, the fear of total annihilation, which can be exploited to control almost every aspect of human behavior. If your consciousness continues beyond death, if you will experience a life review where you feel the full impact of your actions on others, how might you live differently today? Would you prioritize different things? Would you treat others differently, knowing you'll eventually experience the consequences of your actions from their perspective? When you realize that consciousness continues, that material possessions are temporary, while growth and relationships continue, your priorities naturally shift. The mansion, the luxury car, the status symbols, these lose their hold on you. Instead, qualities like compassion, authenticity, wisdom, and love become the true currencies of a well-lived life. Consider how your life would transform if you truly internalized that your consciousness is eternal. Would you still avoid that difficult conversation? Would you still stay in that soul-crushing job? Would you still put off your deepest calling? Or would you find a sudden courage to live authentically, knowing that growth and experience, not safety and security, are the true purposes of existence? In the final segment of our journey, we'll explore practical techniques for experiencing this greater reality yourself. We'll discuss meditation practices specifically designed to access memories of past lives and glimpse the between lives state. We'll examine how to prepare for your own eventual transition beyond the physical body. And we'll consider how to live now in light of what we've discovered. Before we continue, take a moment to consider the implications of what we've discussed. If billions of people suddenly realize they are eternal consciousness, having a temporary human experience, not the other way around, how would our world transform? How would our priorities shift as individuals and as a civilization? The truth about birth and death isn't just personally liberating. It has the potential to transform our entire world. Welcome to the final segment of our exploration. Now that we've examined the evidence and implications, let's discuss practical ways you can explore these concepts yourself. Meditation is perhaps the most accessible tool for experiencing consciousness beyond physical limitations. Specific techniques like focused awareness, on the space between thoughts can create gaps in your normal perception, windows into a broader reality. For those interested in exploring past lives, specific meditation techniques can help. Start by entering a deep, relaxed state. Then visualize a corridor with many doors, each representing a different lifetime. Notice which door draws you. Then allow yourself to step through. Without forcing or analyzing, simply observe what appears. The setting, your identity, the time period. Many report spontaneous memories and emotions that feel distinctly different from imagination. Hypnosis offers another pathway. Many qualified hypnotherapists specialize in past life regression. The advantage here is having a guide to help you navigate unfamiliar territory. During hypnosis, your conscious mind steps aside, allowing access to deeper levels of awareness. Many people report vivid experiences of other times and places, complete with specific details they couldn't possibly know through normal means. Dream work provides another entry point. By keeping a dream journal and practicing lucid dreaming techniques, you can begin to consciously explore non-physical states of awareness. Pay special attention to dreams involving people you've never met, places you've never been, or historical settings with specific details. These may be glimpses of other incarnations or the between lives state. Automatic writing is a simple but powerful technique. Sit quietly with pen and paper. Relax deeply. Then allow your hand to write without conscious direction. Ask questions about your past lives, your purpose, or what happens after death. Then let the answers flow without judgment or editing. Many find that insights emerge that feel distinctly different from their normal thought patterns. Group practices can amplify these explorations. When multiple people meditate together with similar intention, the effects often strengthen. Some groups focus specifically on accessing past life memories or the between lives state. The shared field of consciousness creates a supportive environment where deeper experiences become more accessible. Many report more profound experiences in group settings than when practicing alone. Throughout human history, certain plant medicines have been used as tools for accessing non-ordinary states of consciousness. These substances, used respectfully in appropriate settings with proper guidance, can temporarily shift perception beyond normal limitations. Many report encounters with past lives, deceased loved ones, or the between lives state. While not for everyone, these traditional practices have helped countless people glimpse realities beyond physical existence. Learning from those who've had direct experiences offers another pathway. Seek out near-death experiencers, individuals with verified past life memories, or those trained in ancient wisdom traditions. Their first-hand accounts often contain practical insights that books alone can't provide. Many organizations host regular meetings where these experiences are shared in supportive community settings. Whatever methods you explore, approach them with both open-minded curiosity and healthy skepticism. Document your experiences in detail. Note specific information that you can later verify. Look for patterns across different exploration sessions. This balanced approach, neither dismissing unusual experiences nor accepting everything uncritically, leads to the most meaningful insights. You are both the explorer and the scientist in this journey. Beyond specific techniques, perhaps the most powerful practice is facing your fears, especially the fear of death itself. Notice when fear arises, and instead of avoiding it, turn toward it with gentle awareness. Ask, what am I really afraid of? What part of me believes it can die? This direct inquiry can reveal that what you truly are, consciousness itself, has no beginning or end. Many wisdom traditions emphasize the importance of preparing for death while still living. This isn't morbid. It's practical and liberating. Consider creating a death plan that goes beyond legal documents to include your understanding of the transition process. Contemplate regularly what matters most to you. Practice letting go of attachments. Forgive others and yourself. These preparations transform not just your eventual transition, but your life right now. Paradoxically, the most direct way to experience your eternal nature is through complete presence in this moment. When you fully inhabit the now, without being lost in thoughts of past or future, you can glimpse what many traditions call the eternal present. This timeless awareness is always available, underneath the constant movement of thoughts. Through simple presence, you can directly experience that your essential nature is already free from birth and death. If consciousness continues beyond death, then our actions create patterns that extend beyond this lifetime. Living ethically isn't just about following rules. It's about creating harmonious patterns in the fabric of consciousness itself. Before each significant choice, pause and ask, how will this action affect others? What kind of consciousness pattern am I creating? Would I want to carry this forward beyond this lifetime? This awareness naturally guides you toward choices aligned with your deepest values. Service to others, especially those facing death, offers profound preparation for your own eventual transition. Hospice volunteers often report that accompanying others through death transforms their own relationship with mortality. By witnessing others' transitions with compassion and presence, you develop the awareness and skills that will serve you when facing your own. This service becomes a direct path to understanding the continuity of consciousness. Practice letting go while still living. Our attachments to possessions, roles, beliefs, and even our physical bodies create the suffering associated with death. By practicing release in small ways, decluttering your home, releasing grudges, questioning fixed identities, you prepare for the ultimate letting go. This doesn't mean abandoning life's pleasures, but enjoying them fully without clinging. Each small act of letting go is rehearsal for the freedom of consciousness beyond physical form. Consider reframing your current life challenges through this expanded perspective. If you chose the circumstances of your birth and the major lessons of this lifetime, how does that transform your relationship with difficulties? Your greatest struggles may be precisely the growth opportunities your consciousness sought. This doesn't mean passively accepting injustice, but approaching challenges with awareness of their potential deeper purpose in your soul's evolution. Forgiveness takes on new significance when viewed through this expanded lens. Unresolved conflicts and resentments may create patterns that continue beyond this lifetime. By forgiving others, and equally important, forgiving yourself, you release these patterns and free your consciousness from carrying them forward. This isn't about condoning harmful actions, but about liberating yourself from the energetic bonds that keep consciousness tied to limiting patterns. If consciousness shapes reality at fundamental levels, as quantum physics suggests, then where you place your attention becomes a profound, creative act. Practice conscious awareness of your thoughts, especially those about birth, death, and the nature of existence. Notice when you unconsciously accept limiting beliefs inherited from culture. Each time you shift from fear-based thinking to expansive awareness, you're not just changing your mood, you're participating in creating a different reality. This journey of exploration is best not taken alone. Seek out or create community with others who are asking similar questions. Regular gatherings to discuss experiences, share insights, and support each other's explorations create a container for deeper understanding. Whether online or in person, these communities provide validation, perspective, and the courage to continue questioning beyond conventional limitations. As we conclude this exploration, remember that you don't need to wait for death to experience your eternal nature. The same consciousness that will continue after your body's death is present right now, reading these words. By recognizing this awareness that witnesses all experience, you touch the timeless dimension within yourself, the part of you that was never born and will never die. The greatest illusion isn't just that death is an end. It's that you are nothing more than your temporary physical form. This belief wasn't an accident. It's been carefully cultivated by systems that benefit from your limited self-perception. When you believe you're just a vulnerable body with a few decades to live, you become easier to control through fear. Your awakening to your true nature is the ultimate act of liberation. As you integrate these perspectives, be prepared for resistance, both from others and from parts of yourself. Our culture has deep investments in the birth-death illusion. Friends may dismiss your experiences. Mainstream institutions may call these perspectives pseudoscience. Your own mind may doubt what your deeper awareness reveals. This resistance is natural. It's the ego's attempt to maintain the familiar, even when the familiar is a prison. Maintain a balance of open-minded exploration and healthy skepticism. Neither blind belief nor rigid denial serves the truth. The evidence we've explored, from quantum physics to documented past life memories to near-death experiences, deserves serious consideration. Yet your own direct experience remains the ultimate authority. Test these ideas against your deepest intuition and lived experience. Truth resonates at a level beyond intellectual debate. The ultimate test of these realizations isn't philosophical agreement, but practical transformation. Does understanding your eternal nature make you more present, more compassionate, more authentic in your daily life? True wisdom doesn't separate you from ordinary experience. It infuses every moment with deeper meaning. Washing dishes, having conversations, watching the sunset, all become opportunities to experience your timeless nature in the midst of temporal existence. If you've resonated with these explorations, consider how you might share these perspectives with others, not through preaching or argument, but through embodied wisdom and thoughtful conversation. Each person who awakens to their true nature creates ripples that affect countless others. The greatest gift you can offer is your own liberation from the fear of death, which naturally inspires others to question their own limitations. We're living in a remarkable time when these once hidden truths are becoming increasingly accessible. Across the world, people are awakening to the limitations of materialist worldviews and rediscovering ancient wisdom about the continuity of consciousness. This isn't just an individual journey. It's part of a collective evolution in human understanding about the nature of reality itself. Consider how we might educate future generations differently if we understood that consciousness continues beyond death. Rather than teaching children they are merely physical beings with a finite existence, we could nurture their intuitive understanding of their eternal nature. Many children naturally recall past lives or speak of choosing their parents before birth, until cultural conditioning teaches them to dismiss these memories. What might human civilization become if we honored rather than suppressed this innate wisdom? As we conclude, I invite you to consider your own mortality, not with fear, but with curious acceptance. The physical form you currently inhabit will eventually transform. This is certain. But what if that transformation is not an end, but a transition? What if the awareness reading these words right now continues its journey beyond physical form? How would fully embracing this possibility transform how you live today? Remember that awakening to your eternal nature doesn't require waiting for physical death. The same consciousness that will continue beyond death is present right now as the awareness reading these words. By recognizing this witnessing presence, the I that has remained constant throughout your life despite all physical and mental changes, you can directly experience your timeless nature, even while embodied. This recognition is the ultimate freedom. Imagine a world where the majority of humanity understood and experienced their eternal nature, where decisions, personal and collective, were made from the perspective of continuity rather than scarcity and fear, where we recognized our profound interconnection across time and space. This isn't mere fantasy. It's the natural evolution of consciousness that happens when enough individuals awaken to their true nature. Your personal journey of awakening contributes to this larger transformation. As our exploration concludes, remember that this is just the beginning. The journey of understanding your eternal nature continues throughout this lifetime and beyond. Stay curious. Question everything, including what I've shared here. Seek your own direct experience, and remember that the greatest evidence isn't found in scientific studies or ancient texts, but in the transformation that happens when you recognize who you truly are, consciousness itself, witnessing this remarkable human journey. Before we part, take a moment to feel the presence of awareness within you, the consciousness that has been present your entire life. This awareness isn't born and doesn't die. It's the constant witness to all your experiences. In recognizing this presence, you touch your eternal nature. This isn't something to believe. It's something to experience directly. And in that experience is the freedom from the illusion that has kept humanity bound for millennia. If what we've explored resonates with you, I invite you to join our community of explorers. Share your own experiences in the comments below. Connect with others on this journey. Remember that you are not alone in questioning the conventional narrative about birth and death. Millions around the world are awakening to these deeper truths. Together, we're rediscovering what ancient wisdom traditions have always known. That consciousness continues, that you are far more than your physical form, and that birth and death are not what you've been told. If this exploration has touched something deep within you, I invite you to make a simple declaration in the comments below. Simply write, "I live on." This isn't just words. It's a conscious recognition of your eternal nature, a declaration that reverberates through the field of consciousness itself. Join thousands who have already made this recognition. Together, we're creating a new understanding of what it means to be human, an understanding not limited by birth and death, but expanded into the infinite potential of consciousness itself. Thank you for joining me on this exploration. Remember that what we've discussed isn't just philosophy. It's an invitation to direct experience of your eternal nature. The journey continues long after this video ends. The real exploration happens in your own consciousness as you begin to question the limitations you've accepted and recognize the vastness of who you truly are. Until next time, remember, you were never born and you will never die. Only the forms change. You, the awareness that witnesses it all, remain.